Over the last 2.5, 3 decades maybe, we've gotten a significant number of superhero movies in theaters. But there's also a great number of superhero movies that have been canceled. Today I want to discuss the canceled Gambit movie in particular, the one that Channing Tatum was attached to for about a decade. We're going to cover this series of events and attempt to put together a timeline as best we can and hopefully answer a few questions along the way and maybe find out, would Channing Tatum's Gambit film have been movie magic? Thanks for clicking on the video, I hope you enjoy it. It's BatBot Nate, and let's get to it. Now, to briefly go over the character's movie screen history, Gambit's name appeared in a screen in 2003's X2 X-Men United. Apparently there was supposed to be a little more to Gambit's role and appearance in X-Men 2, but I couldn't find any legit or verified sources. Gambit was also intended to make an appearance in X-Men The Last Stand 2006, but was eventually cut to make room for other mutants. And of course, there was also a planned Gambit appearance in 2016's X-Men Age of Apocalypse that also fell through. After X-Men Origins Wolverine, Fox just couldn't manage to fit Gambit into their plans. Now, to speak a little bit more on Channing Tatum's history, after his star power had ascended a little bit, Tatum had a shot playing Gambit in a supporting role in Fox's X-Men Origins Wolverine, but instead took a leading role in 2009's G.I. Joe: The Rise of Cobra. The first major silver screen appearance of Gambit ended up being played by Taylor Kitsch in 2009's X-Men Origins Wolverine. I think people liked Taylor Kitsch in the role pretty well. However, the actual movie didn't fare so well in terms of fan reception, critical reception, or box office intake. Shortly after Wolverine's Origins, Tatum sought the role again. Now, I personally didn't see it at the time. I had serious doubts Channing Tatum could step up to the role, but Tatum has turned in several good performances since around 2014-2016. This is when the news started coming out about him more often. I think it's fair to say we've watched Tatum start as a below-average actor and grow into a good, sometimes even great performer, proving that he's no average Joe. Now that's it for the history lesson. Let's get into Channing Tatum's Gambit movie more directly. After the Wolverine Origins came and went, 2014, Tatum was back in the picture as Gambit, casted alongside Lea Seydoux and Lizzie Kaplan. In 2014, X-Men franchise producer Lauren Schuler Donner began planning Tatum's Gambit movie. She stated, "It doesn't have to be a great big movie. It's a thief in New Orleans. It's a whole different story. Tatum's on board, and I have to get the studio on board." End quote. They found their writer in Josh Zuttimer. Remember 2014's RoboCop? Fox agreed to this plan in January 2015 and gave the film an October 2016 release date. The first director officially assigned to the movie was director Rupert Wyatt of 2011's Rise of the Planet of the Apes. Fox wanted to upscale the film a little bit more than just simple mobsters and gangsters, and with Hugh Jackman on the way out, Fox desired to lock in Tatum for multiple projects, making him one of their leads for the X-Men franchise. This would have tied Channing Tatum down, which is something he was very hesitant about. And after upscaling the movie during Rupert Wyatt's era on the film, Fox made the decision to significantly cut the budget for this movie after the failing of 2015's Fan 4-Stick. And in that same year, Rupert Wyatt left the project after these cuts because the changes would have required significant script rewrites. In an interview with Collider, Wyatt expressed why he left and how impressed he was with the script they had, and even some of the alterations that were made afterwards, referring to it as Godfather in the 70s with mutants. Alright, this is a bit of a long quote, so bear with me here. Fantastic Four came out, did not do very well for Fox, and they decided to lower our budget. We are 12 weeks out, we couldn't recover, the script needed a huge amount of rewriting in order to fit that budget, and ultimately the powers that be chose not to go down that road, so the film didn't happen. And then of course whatever happened after me with other directors, I have no idea. What I do know is that Channing Tatum and his producing partner, Reed Carolyn, had an amazing idea of what the movie could be, and Josh Zuttermer, the writer as well. It was terrific. It was really exciting, sort of a Godfather with mutants set in New Orleans with different gangs. Yeah, a heist film, of a sort. I mean, it was a period film. It dealt with the 70s up until the present day. It was about a kind of mutant gangs and the notion of what it means to belong. Tribalism in this bayou-like environment. The swamps of New Orleans. So it would have been a lot of fun. I know Channing sort of worked on the script to make it into more of a romantic comedy, I think, which I read and it was great. It was very different to what I was involved in. But now Disney have the reins, so I don't know what their plans are. End quote. Alright, then immediately after Wyatt, that very same year, 2015, Doug Liman was up to direct. I'm going to take this as an opportunity to recommend 2014's Edge of Tomorrow. Seriously, go watch it. Liman also directed 2002's The Bourne Identity. Go watch that while you're at it. So now Tatum's Gambit project was set to begin filming in 2016 with an early 2017 release date. Producer Simon Kinberg, I have opinions on this guy, we'll get into that later, in a different video, called this iteration a heist movie and sexy thriller. After multiple delays and setbacks, Liman eventually left Gambit to work on Justice League Dark for WB. The next director officially signed on to the Gambit movie was Gore Verbinski. His Gambit film was set to release in 2019. Verbinski brought us The Ring, Pirates of the Caribbean, and Rango, so he's got good range as a storyteller. Nowadays, Verbinski says he was never fully committed to the project. Here's his quote. "The script, we never got to a place where everybody was in agreement. I mean, I got a call from the studio saying, we have this project, Gambit, do you want to do it? And they had said, it shoots right away, and I said, well, I don't know, let me think about it. And I forgot what was happening. There was something schedule-wise where it was actually going to be maybe a good thing if it happened quickly. Then it was like the script just didn't get there. Then I had other stuff that was more important to me, and I think other people had other things. So it was like a short window where if it happened, it was going to happen immediately with a lot of urgency." End quote. Fast forward a little bit more. Tatum and his producing partner, Reed Carolyn, proposed that they co-direct the film. This would have been the directorial debut for both of them. Now apparently Fox wasn't too hot on this idea and rejected the pair, not believing the pair could step up to the task. Channing Tatum and Carolyn went on to make Dog. But let's talk about what Tatum and Carolyn came up with. They co-wrote the script for the Gambit movie and defended their twist on the character. In Tatum's words, "They would call him flamboyant in his description," Tatum said. "I wouldn't. He was just the coolest person. He could pull off anything. Most superheroes, their outfits are utilitarian. Batman's got his belt, Gambit's like, no, this shit's just fly, bro. This shit walked down the Paris runway last year. He's just wearing the stuff that's so dope because he loves fashion." End quote. Carolyn added, We wanted to make a romantic comedy superhero movie. The thesis was the only thing harder than saving the world is making a relationship work. We were right on the 1-yard line. We had casted the film, we'd opened up a production office, we were on our way to shoot in New Orleans." End quote. Producer Simon Kinberg, who was also attached to this movie for quite a long time, suggested at some point there were plans for Nathaniel Essex, chatting during IGN's X-Men Days of Future Past watch-along party. Kinberg said, "Mr. Sinister was going to be a part of the Gambit movie, starring Channing Tatum." It makes sense, considering that Sinister and Gambit crossed paths many times in the comics. At one point, the villain even hired Remy to assemble a team of marauders. End quote. So that wraps up the different directors and plans for the movie. But I should note that a few other directors were attached to this movie: Joe Cornish, Shane Black, and F. Gary Gray. Ultimately, the Tatum Gambit movie was killed by the Disney-Fox deal, as Disney would mostly want their own versions of these characters. At least that was the original idea. I will say I'm looking forward to seeing how Deadpool connects the MCU and the Fox universe. Now, if you'll allow me a moment to rant, let's talk about money. Back in December 2017, the proposed budget for the Gambit movie was revealed. A staggering $155 million. That's insane. This would have been comparable to the X-Men team movies. Apocalypse was at 178, X-Men United at 110. Those were entire teams. This is one decently known character. For reference, Logan had $97 million budget, Deadpool had about a $58 million budget, Origins Wolverine had $150. But that's Wolverine, played successfully multiple times by Hugh Jackman, and back when Hollywood thought superhero movies equaled automatic money. Like, what are you spending $155 million on? Stunt performers, purple energy effects, pyrotechnics, maybe some elaborate costumes. The typical CGI, nothing about Gambit requires $155 million. From what I've seen, Jackman made about $20 million from Origins. Tatum did not have the relationship with Fox or the star power of Jackman, so he was probably getting nowhere near that. So the budget would not have ballooned for Tatum's paycheck. I just have no idea what they were going to do with $155 million for a Gambit movie. Alright, rant over. Throughout all of this, one thing has been clear. Tatum has never been able to let go of this Gambit movie. Channing Tatum has recently stated being devastated by the loss of this movie, even using the words traumatized. He hasn't been able to watch any of the other Marvel movies. Now, that seems a bit dramatic, but I get how tough it is to lose something you've been fighting for. Also, fun fact, Tatum started learning card throwing tricks and sleight of hand tricks from magician David Kwong. Alright, so final thoughts. I will say Wyatt's iteration sounds cool as hell to me, but I think if it would have come out after Logan and Deadpool, it would have been amazing momentum for Fox. This 70s mutant Godfather film sounds amazing to me. I think a romantic comedy with Gambit will actually be fun as well, although it's not particular what I would have liked to see. I'm much more interested in the crime action movie. So, are there any cancelled movies you would have liked to see? Perhaps Ben Affleck's Batman, Justice League Mortal, X-Men Origins, Magneto? Would you have been interested in watching the Gambit Channing Tatum movie? Would you have even casted Channing Tatum? Maybe you'd have liked to see Taylor Kitsch keep the role. Let me know what you think. As always, thanks for watching, and if you got any entertainment from this video, consider liking and subscribing.